My mom invited me to a quick dinner with family. When I arrived, she pointed to the back table and said, "You can sit there. We need space for the real group." I just nodded, ordered a drink, and slipped my card to the server. Then I walked to the host and said, "Charge everything on that table to their name." 20 minutes later, my dad shouted, "Why is it over 1,700s?" I'll admit, I felt awkward even before walking into that restaurant. The kind of awkward where you can already sense something's wrong but can't quite explain it. My gut was telling me this wasn't just a dinner, it was something else. I shook it off like I always did. It was just dinner with family. How bad could it be? My mom texted a few days before, "Quick dinner with family this Saturday. Nothing big." I hesitated before answering. Last time we all met, I ended up covering the whole check, almost $900, and nobody even blinked. My dad had said something like, "Good thing Olivia's got no kids to feed." And they all laughed like it was hilarious. I didn't. I told them I'd pay if they ever needed it, but I meant that as a gesture, not a job title. Still, I hadn't seen them in 2 months. Guilt wins sometimes. So, I said yes. When I walked into the restaurant, I immediately saw them. Long table by the window. Everyone already seated. My dad cracking jokes. My aunt sipping wine. My twin brother snapping selfies with my mom. The only person who wasn't there yet was me. Or maybe I wasn't supposed to be. I walked over and gave a little wave, and my mom turned around, smiled, and pointed behind her like she was assigning me a seat on a bus. "You can sit there. We need space for the real group." I paused. She didn't even flinch when she said it. Just turned back around like she'd ordered the soup. I didn't say a word. I looked at the empty table in the corner, half lit, tucked between the kitchen door and the bathrooms, and just walked over. Fine. They want to treat me like the side dish. I'll act like one. I ordered an old-fashioned and nodded to the waiter like everything was fine. Then I called him over again, slid my card across the table, and said just loud enough, "Everything from that table, put it on them. Mine's just this drink." He blinked once. I smiled. "You got it?" He nodded. I think he was actually looking forward to it. The next 25 minutes were like watching a circus. They were laughing, toasting, ordering everything on the menu. My uncle got the ribeye. My brother had 2 different appetizers going. My dad ordered a $130 bottle of wine and poured it like it was soda. My mom kept calling the waiter over like he was her personal butler. They had no clue. I waited. I sipped. I enjoyed every second. Then it hit. From across the room, I heard my dad's voice rise like a volcano. "Why is it over Thompson?" Everyone turned. My aunt leaned in, confused. My brother froze with his phone mid-snap. I stood up and walked over like it was just time to say goodbye. "I paid for everything, even left a tip," I said casually. My dad lit up. My mom gave me the warmest smile I'd seen from her in years. They all looked at me like I just paid off their mortgage. I waved and left. Simple. What they didn't realize was that the waiter was still on script. I told him to bring the bill back to them after I left. I didn't even make it to the parking lot before I heard shouting from the hallway. "Wait, what? She only paid for her drink. Olivia!" I got in my car and took off before anyone could catch up. The air had never felt that clean. The next morning, I got the knock. My mom, my dad, both standing at my front door with tired faces. My dad went straight in. No greeting. It came out to $2,000. They showed up at 9:12 the next morning. No warning, just 2 sharp knocks. And then my dad walking into my apartment like he owned it. My mom trailed behind him, quieter than usual, like she already knew this was going to go badly. He dropped the receipt on the kitchen counter like it was evidence in a courtroom. "It came out to $2,100, he said. "No, good morning, no, how are you? Just that number." I looked at the receipt, didn't even touch it. "I paid for my drink," I said. That's when the real show started. He started walking in circles like he was working himself up, throwing phrases at me. "We raised you better. This is low. You embarrassed us. Your uncle had to cover the tip." He made it sound like I'd set their house on fire. My mom only spoke when he paused to catch his breath. "Olivia, we just thought you'd help." Help. That was the word they always leaned on. Help me paying for everything. Help me sitting at a side table like a forgotten cousin. Help me staying quiet so the rest of them could have a good time. I listened. I let them talk for over an hour. I barely said a word. When they were done, I said, "You're mad because I treated you exactly how you treated me." That stopped him for half a second, but he didn't respond. He just turned around and stormed out with my mom behind him. I thought it was over. 10 minutes later, I heard a loud crack from outside. I ran to the window and saw my dad jogging back to the car. My mom was already in the passenger seat. My car window, driver's side, was shattered. Glass everywhere. A rock was sitting in the seat. They didn't wait. They drove off like it was nothing. I stood there staring at the mess. I didn't scream. I didn't chase after them. I went back inside, opened my laptop, and pulled up the footage from the security cameras I had installed last fall after a package was stolen. There it was, clear as day. My dad walking toward the car, checking around, picking up a rock, and throwing it straight through my window. I saved the footage. Then I filed a police report. I told the officer everything, gave him the video. He asked if I wanted to press charges or just get compensation. I said I wanted every dime back. That window wasn't just broken, it was a message. And so was my response. By the end of the week, he was out $420. No insurance, no excuses. He paid. But I wasn't done. I opened my banking app and stared at the shared account labeled Family Expenses. For 9 months, I'd been depositing $2,000 into that thing monthly. It started after they claimed they were struggling. Repairs, bills, groceries. I'd agreed to help temporarily, thinking we were all working together. But I started noticing weird things. Sudden shopping sprees, my brother casually posting from new cafes, Uber rides from campus to beach parties. Meanwhile, I was told every dollar helped keep the family afloat. I shut it down, locked the account, reset the passwords, removed all link transfers, left it at 0. 3 days later, it exploded. 15 missed calls from my mom, 6 from my dad. Even my aunt texted me saying there must have been some mistake. My brother sent me a single line. "What the hell, Olivia?" I ignored all of it. Then, about a week later, like nothing ever happened, they showed up again. All smiles this time. My dad actually hugged me at the door. My mom brought a box of pastries. They sat on the couch and talked about forgiveness, unity, starting over. My brother wasn't there, but his name came up a few times. "We've all had a rough patch," my mom said. "Let's just move forward as a family." "We were thinking," my dad added, "maybe we could all go out again. Just have a good evening." I nodded, smiled, and said, "That sounds great." They left feeling like they'd won. They thought it was all water under the bridge. A few polite words, some pastries, and a hug, and suddenly we were a family again. That's what they wanted. I let them believe it. When they suggested we all go out for dinner, just to reconnect, I agreed immediately. Picked the spot myself. Somewhere expensive. Somewhere with chandeliers that hang so low they practically whisper in your ear. I even called ahead and made sure we'd get a private table. It had to look real. Saturday night. I got there 10 minutes early, already dressed like I didn't have a care in the world. White blouse, clean watch, smile ready. They showed up together. All of them dressed nicer than usual. My mom looked pleased. My dad actually laughed when he saw the place. "Let's not do that like last time, huh?" he said, nudging me with his elbow. I smiled. No way. We sat, ordered wine. They looked relaxed, like something heavy had been lifted. My mom even said she felt like this was a turning point. My aunt kept nodding through the whole meal, like she just returned from therapy. My brother barely looked up from his phone, except to roll his eyes at the waiter. Everything was moving exactly how I planned it. They didn't hold back. Appetizers like they were sharing with royalty. Steaks, seafood towers, 2 bottles of wine. My dad made 2 toasts, both vague and self-congratulatory. My mom kept glancing at me like she wanted to say she was proud, but couldn't quite get the words out. I sat through the whole thing like a professional actor. Toward the end, I checked my phone, stood up calmly, and said, "My girlfriend's calling. I'll be right back." I walked past the restrooms through the hallway, nodded at the waiter who had the check and stepped out the side door, got in my car, drove off. I didn't need to see it to know how it played out. 10 minutes later, the waiter would have brought the check to their table. I knew what was on it. $1,407 before tip. I also knew exactly what my dad would say. First, he'd make a joke. Then his smile would collapse. My mom would ask the waiter if there was a mistake. My brother would accuse someone of playing a prank. Then the reality would hit, and I'd be long gone. By the time I got home, I had 40 missed calls, 4 voicemails. The first one was calm. The second was louder. The last 2 weren't even words, just breathing and shouting in the background. My brother sent a wall of texts that ranged from threats to begging to insults and back again. Then came the knock. This time, they didn't wait a day. An hour later, my dad, mom, and brother were at my door. No smiles, no pastries, no fake warmth. You humiliated us, my dad said again. You've crossed the line, my mom added, her voice shaking. My brother took over the room. He talked the most, called me pathetic, accused me of holding a grudge, said I didn't understand what family meant. I sat quietly for a while, letting them think they still had the upper hand. Then I looked at my brother and asked him a simple question. Who do you think's been paying for your tuition? He froze, just like that. My dad and mom looked at each other, confused. $30,000 a year, I said. 4 semesters covered quietly. You're welcome. Dead silence. My dad tried to talk, but this time I didn't let him. You want to talk about crossing lines? That ends today. The account's shut. You want him to finish school? You figure it out. My brother looked like he wanted to scream, but didn't know which direction to shoot it in. Then I leaned back and just let the moment stretch. You manipulated us, my mom said, barely loud enough. No, I replied. I just learned from the best. They stayed another 20 minutes trying to negotiate, twist it around, make me the villain. At one point, my aunt even called mid-conversation, probably trying to calm things down. I let it ring. Before they left, my dad said, This isn't over. I nodded. I know. That night, I didn't feel angry. I felt clear. After that last dinner, the calls didn't stop. I ignored them. 40 missed calls in a night became 70 over a weekend. Then they started texting like nothing happened. My mom sent me a message Monday morning. Let's move on from all this. We love you. My dad followed with, We're still a family. We need to act like it. Need to. It didn't take long before the tone changed. By Tuesday, the messages shifted. You're hurting everyone. You're being selfish. And my personal favorite from my aunt. Olivia, don't let money define you. As if they hadn't already done that for me. Then my brother called. He didn't apologize. He didn't even ask how I was. He just asked if I'd fixed the tuition thing yet. I said no. He hung up. An hour later, I got a long email from my mom. It was supposed to be heartfelt. I guess it was. But halfway through it, she said something that made my jaw tighten. We've sacrificed so much for you. You owe it to us not to walk away now. Sacrificed. That word sat in my head for days. I kept thinking back to the months I'd been paying that shared account. $2,000 a month, no questions asked. Groceries, house repairs, utility bills, that's what they claimed. But I had access to the records. Quietly, I'd kept screenshots of the outgoing transactions. It wasn't just groceries, it was salon visits, spa days, car detailing. My brother had taken $400 out in 1 week labeled campus emergency. Turned out it was for a concert. So I waited. Then on Friday night, I sent a group message to all of them. Mom, Dad, Aunt, Uncle, and my brother. It had 3 photos. A screenshot of the shared account history, a screenshot of my bank's total contributions, and a picture of a handwritten note my dad left me last year. We're proud of you. You take care of us better than we deserve. No message, just those 3 images. They didn't respond right away, but I know they saw it. Saturday morning, I finally got a visit, but not from my parents. It was my cousin Ashley. She stood on my porch with 2 coffees, and it looked like she had just escaped a fire. They've been telling everyone that you're having a breakdown, she said. That you're paranoid, that you're trying to punish the family. My mom tried to convince me you were just emotionally unstable, but I've seen the account history. I know what they've been doing. I didn't say much. Ashley wasn't the type to sugarcoat. We talked for maybe an hour. Then she said something that stuck with me. They don't even see you as a person anymore, just a function. You stopped paying, and now they don't know how to act. That was the surprise I hadn't been prepared for. Not just that they used me, but that they never even thought it was wrong. They thought they were entitled to it. Later that evening, my mom sent me a message. We want to fix this. Let's all meet. 1 dinner. No drama. Your father says he's willing to let everything go if you just come. Let everything go. As if he was the one offering mercy. I told her I'd think about it. I won't be going. I started packing the night I got my mom's message. 1 dinner. No drama. Your father says he's willing to let everything go if you just come. That sentence played in my head like background noise while I filled cardboard boxes with the life I built. My apartment wasn't big, but it held a lot. Photos I no longer looked at, clothes I no longer wore, reminders of a family that had turned my loyalty into currency. I didn't tell anyone I was leaving. I didn't owe them a goodbye. They didn't earn it. 3 days later, I signed the lease on a new place, few hundred miles out, different state, small city, quieter pace. No one there who knew my name. It felt clean, like flipping a page without rereading the last paragraph. But before I left, I made one final move. I logged into the tuition payment system for my brother's college and officially canceled all pending contributions, marked myself as no longer responsible for this account. Then I removed my name completely. Then I removed my all. A day later, I received a screenshot from Ashley, my cousin again. It was a message from my brother in the family group chat. Why is my tuition unpaid? I just got a hold warning from admin. They're saying I'm going to be dropped from next semester if it's not fixed this week. That was followed by my mom saying, Olivia must have done something. Then my dad. She's doing this to get revenge. Let her enjoy her little win. We'll figure it out. But I knew they couldn't figure it out, because I also cut off the backup source of money. The emergency fund I had secretly filled for them when my dad asked for help with a temporary loan last year, $12,000. Gone now, transferred to my private account, legally mine. And I knew something else they didn't. That new SUV they bought last spring? It was partly financed through the same account I had been pouring money into every month. Without my share, the math didn't work anymore. $30,000 a year in tuition, $900 a month in insurance and gas, house repairs, their new lifestyle. It all balanced on me, until it didn't. When I left town, I took only what I needed. The rest I donated, trashed, or sold. My new apartment is smaller, cleaner, mine. I changed my number but kept my old phone on for one reason. Watching the missed calls pile up. They called from new numbers, sent emails, even mailed a handwritten letter asking me to reconsider for the sake of the family. Then came the twist I didn't expect. A message from my aunt. They're thinking of taking legal action if you don't resume support. Legal action. I laughed out loud in my new kitchen while reading that. There was no contract, no agreement. Just their entitlement now turning into desperation. And then silence. That was a week ago. Now I sit here watching the sunset over a city they'll never find me in, and thinking about how far I let it go before I finally chose peace. They made me into a provider. Now they'll have to live without one. It's been 3 months. 3 months without forced dinners, fake apologies, or guilt masked as love. I wake up now without checking my phone, without wondering what kind of manipulation is waiting in my inbox. The silence is beautiful. So is the freedom. I settled in faster than I expected. New apartment, new job setup, new coffee shop down the street that knows my order by heart. I even started dating someone. Nothing serious yet, but different. Honest. She knows about the mess I left behind, and for the first time, I don't feel embarrassed saying it out loud. I thought cutting ties would feel heavier. It doesn't. It feels like pulling out a splinter you didn't realize had been infecting you for years. The last message I got from them was 2 weeks ago. My brother wrote, "You've ruined everything. Hope it was worth it." I didn't answer. My mom sent a picture of the house, a subtle attempt to trigger nostalgia. The caption said, "Still your home if you want it." It's not anymore. Word got around to the rest of the extended family. A few relatives reached out to say they were proud of me. One of my uncles even told me, "You did what I never had the guts to do." I didn't expect that, but it made something clear. This wasn't just about my family. It was about a system of taking, of obligation masked as tradition. As for my parents, they've gone quiet again, probably hoping time will reset things, that I'll eventually get nostalgic, that I'll forget the rock through my car window, the manipulation, the way they laughed while sitting at the real group table. I won't. But here's the truth. I don't hate them. I just don't trust them. And that's the difference. I've started building a life that doesn't rely on their approval, their presence, or their money-grabbing traditions. I've stopped checking their socials, stopped wondering if they're okay, stopped pretending they'll ever truly apologize. But I do still keep notes, because something tells me this story isn't over. They'll do something again. Maybe not soon, maybe not even directly. But I know them too well to believe they've really stopped scheming. So if that day comes, I'll be here, and I'll write again. Because if there's one thing they should have learned by now, it's that I never start fights. I just end them. The update. I didn't think there'd be another update. 2 months had passed since I walked away, and I had settled into the idea that this was just my life now. Quiet apartment, peaceful mornings, no guilt, buried in text messages. I stopped waiting for the other shoe to drop. I thought the story had ended. Then my phone rang one Friday afternoon. It was my uncle. the one who had always stayed just neutral enough to be trusted, even when everyone else took turns stabbing me in the back or pretending not to see it. We hadn't talked since I moved. I thought maybe he was just checking in, but after some small talk, he shifted gears. He said, "I think you should know what's been happening back home." I didn't say anything, just listened. And for the first time in a long time, what I heard didn't make me angry. Apparently, after I cut everyone off and pulled my support, things got real fast. All the money that kept them comfortable, all the quiet coverage I provided in the background, disappeared overnight, and there was no one else left to pick up the pieces. So, they had to. My dad, the same guy who once said, "Manual labor is for people who didn't try hard enough," took a second job at a local auto repair shop. Weekends, full shifts, no bragging, no drama, just work. My mom stopped her weekly brunches with her friends, canceled the salon appointments. She started using coupons again, cooked more, handled bills herself, sold the SUV that I helped them finance last year. They didn't just downgrade their lifestyle, they downgraded their egos. But what surprised me the most, genuinely, was what I heard about my brother. The same brother who used to mock me for being too serious about money now works night shifts at McDonald's near his campus. He splits rent with roommates, packs his lunch, and hasn't asked my parents for a single dollar in over a month. He said he doesn't want to make it harder for mom and dad. My uncle told me he feels guilty about how everything played out, that he's actually working for the first time, and it's humbling him. That part stopped me cold. But my uncle wasn't done. He said that my parents, on their own, without being prompted, told him something he felt I needed to hear. They said, "We know we ruined something with Olivia. We know it's not fixable right away, but if she ever decides to come home, we're not going to pretend anymore. We'll ask for her forgiveness, and this time we'll mean it." I didn't respond for a while. I just sat there, staring at the wall. It wasn't the apology. It wasn't even the effort. It was the idea that maybe, finally, they'd stopped talking and started learning. That night, I went out, walked along the edge of the water, hands in my jacket, thinking about everything that had happened, from the restaurant to the rock through my window to cutting them off completely. I played it all back, not in anger, not in regret, just to understand how far things had gone and how far they'd come since. I don't trust words anymore. I trust patterns. And for once, the pattern seems different. I'm not going back to move back in. I'm not rushing into warm hugs and holiday dinners like none of this ever happened. But I think I'll visit, not to forgive them yet, but to see who they become without me. If they really meant what they said, if they really plan to ask for forgiveness, then I'll be ready to hear it. And if not, I'll be ready to leave again. I'll write again after that visit. Because if this story has taught me anything, it's that endings can change. A few weeks later, I drove back for the first time. Not to the house, I wasn't ready for that, but to meet my uncle for lunch. Same diner we always used to go to when I was a kid. Corner booth, scratched up table, coffee refilled without asking. He got there before I did, already sipping black coffee, reading some printout that looked like insurance paperwork. When he saw me, he stood up and gave me a real hug. Not the polite kind. The kind where someone's arms stay around you half a second longer than you expect. He didn't push me to go see them, didn't guilt trip or preach. He just said, "They're trying, Olivia. They really are." I nodded. I didn't promise anything. That evening, I drove by the house. Didn't stop, just circled the block once. Lights were on. Front yard looked a little more unkempt than usual. One of the hedges was dying. The SUV was gone, replaced by an older sedan with mismatched hubcaps. I parked 2 streets over and walked to the park nearby. Sat on the same bench I used to read on when I was 17 and dreaming about college. I stayed until it got dark, then left. No confrontation, no grand gesture. Just presence. That weekend, I got a message from my mom. A photo of that same dying hedge, freshly trimmed and watered. No caption. It didn't fix anything, but it wasn't manipulation either. That was new. The following week, I got a handwritten letter from my dad. Not typed, not emailed, not even a text. It was awkward, messy, with smudged ink and a few lines scratched out. But it said one thing I hadn't heard from him in years. "I'm sorry." He didn't blame me, didn't ask for money, didn't even ask for a visit, just said he was sorry. That did something to me. Not a full repair, but a crack in the wall I'd built. I haven't replied yet. Not because I'm trying to punish them, but because I'm still watching the pattern. I've learned to move slowly with forgiveness. You don't hand it out like candy just because someone says the right words once. You observe, you wait, you see who they are when they think you're not coming back. It's been a few more weeks now. My phone doesn't light up like it used to. The texts have stopped. The calls too. The silence now feels different. Not like abandonment. Like respect. My cousin Ashley still checks in. She came to visit me in the new city. We walked the riverside, laughed about college memories, shared dessert at a hole-in-the-wall bakery. You seem lighter, she said. I am. I've started writing again. Not just these reflections, but actual stories. Fiction. Characters who take their power back. I think I needed this distance to find my voice again. My new life isn't perfect, but it's mine. Entirely mine. I decorate how I want. I buy groceries I actually enjoy. I sleep better. I don't flinch when my phone buzzes. Sometimes I still think about the old days. Family dinners before things got complicated. Backyard birthdays. Movie nights on Fridays. But I don't let nostalgia lie to me. It was never always good. There were cracks long before the walls fell down. And I've stopped pretending those cracks were just quirks. They were warnings. Now I live with intention. I give when I want to, not when I'm guilted to. I answer calls I choose to, not ones I feel obligated to. I spend time with people who make me feel safe, not ones who drain me and call it love. I don't know if I'll ever fully go back, but I know this. If they continue to grow, I'll meet them halfway, slowly, carefully. And if they regress, I'll walk away again, without explanation, without theatrics. Because I finally understand that I don't need a family that only loves me when I'm useful. I need people who love me even when I say no. And now that I've learned to say it, I'll never unlearn it. This isn't a revenge story, it's a clarity story. And if you've ever felt like a walking wallet or a support beam for a crumbling legacy that was never built for you, then maybe it's your story too. I'm Olivia, and this time I chose peace.